At first, the ocean looked completely calm. Fishing boats drifted quietly beneath gray morning skies. Waves touched the harbor gently. Seagulls circled above the coastline. Nothing felt unusual. But far beyond the horizon, something enormous was forming. A storm unlike anything modern sailors had ever seen. Invisible at first, silent, growing stronger hour by hour across the dark Atlantic. Meteorologists noticed strange pressure changes. Satellites detected massive rotating cloud systems. Ocean buoys began transmitting unusual readings. And somewhere deep at sea, captains aboard cargo ships started reporting something unsettling. The water itself felt wrong. Nobody knew it yet, but the world was about to witness one of the most terrifying storms in history. A storm powerful enough to stop entire fleets, darken coastlines, and sink everything in its path. This is the story of the storm that sank everything. The Atlantic Ocean has always been unpredictable. For centuries, sailors feared its sudden moods. One moment peaceful, the next completely unforgiving. But in late October, weather systems across the ocean began behaving strangely. Warm tropical air collided with freezing northern currents. Satellite images revealed giant spiraling cloud formations stretching across thousands of kilometers. Meteorologists struggled to understand what they were seeing. The storm system was growing too quickly. Pressure levels continued falling. Ocean temperatures remained unusually warm. Conditions were becoming perfect for something massive. Meanwhile, life continued normally along the coastline. Cargo ships departed ports. Cruise liners crossed open waters. Fishing crews sailed into the Atlantic before dawn. Most people had no idea what was coming.
The first warnings came from sailors. Radio operators received reports from ships scattered across the Atlantic. Waves behaving strangely. Sudden dense fog appearing without warning. Navigation instruments briefly malfunctioning. One captain described the ocean as too quiet. Even experienced crews felt uneasy. The air pressure dropped rapidly. Dark clouds formed faster than expected, and the sea began changing color beneath the storm. Deep gray, almost black. Far above the Atlantic, satellites captured the storm expanding into a gigantic rotating system. Meteorologists stared silently at their screens. The storm was becoming stronger than prediction models allowed, and it was moving directly toward major shipping routes.
By nightfall, the ocean had transformed completely. Massive waves rose across the Atlantic. Rain hammered ship decks relentlessly. Visibility disappeared into darkness. Cargo vessels struggled to maintain direction as winds intensified hour by hour. Inside control rooms, crews watched radar screens flicker violently. Lightning illuminated enormous walls of water surrounding the ships. Some vessels attempted to reroute. Others were already trapped inside the storm system. Then, communication failures began. One by one, ships disappeared from radar. Radio transmissions cut to static. Emergency frequencies filled with broken signals. Across the ocean, the storm swallowed entire fleets into darkness.
At the center of the documentary, one cargo vessel becomes trapped deep within the storm. The ship carried supplies across the Atlantic with a small international crew on board. At first, the captain believed they could navigate around the storm safely. But the weather changed too quickly. Gigantic waves crashed across the deck. Engines struggled against the violent sea. Containers shifted dangerously with every movement. Inside the ship, lights flickered constantly. Crew members moved carefully through narrow corridors as alarms echoed across the vessel. Then, suddenly, all satellite communication failed. The ship was alone, lost somewhere in the middle of the storm.
As the night deepened, the storm became almost impossible to survive. Waves towered above the ship like moving mountains. Rain covered every surface. The horizon vanished completely. Inside the bridge, the crew fought exhaustion and fear while trying to keep the vessel stable. The captain realized something terrifying. The storm was no longer moving normally. It had slowed down, growing stronger over the same region of ocean. Meteorologists later described it as a stalling superstorm, a system feeding endlessly on warm ocean water. And trapped at the center of it, the cargo ship continued drifting deeper into chaos.
Back on land, coastal cities prepared for impact. Emergency alerts spread across ports and towns. Residents boarded windows. Harbors filled with anchored ships trying to escape open water. But the storm kept growing. Satellite images showed cloud systems covering entire regions. Winds intensified beyond earlier forecasts. Even experienced weather experts became alarmed. Then the power outages began. Entire sections of coastline lost electricity. Roads flooded beneath endless rain. And somewhere offshore, dozens of ships remained missing.
For those trapped at sea, time lost meaning. The crew on board the cargo ship could barely see beyond the bridge windows. Massive waves struck endlessly through the darkness. The storm sounded alive. Metal groaned beneath pressure. Water swept across the deck repeatedly. Yet, despite everything, the crew continued working together, fixing damaged systems, maintaining engines, holding on to hope. Because in the middle of the Atlantic, hope became the only thing stronger than fear.
When sunrise finally arrived, the ocean looked unrecognizable. Debris floated across endless gray water. Several ships remained missing. Coastlines suffered severe flooding. Harbors had been reshaped completely by the storm surge. Search aircraft scanned the ocean for survivors. And slowly, radio signals began returning. One by one, ships emerged from the silence. Damaged, exhausted, but alive. Others were never found. The Atlantic kept their stories hidden beneath the waves.
Scientists later studied the storm for years. They discovered a rare combination of atmospheric conditions had fueled its enormous power. Warm oceans, rapid pressure collapse, colliding air systems. Climate researchers warned that warming seas may increase the likelihood of future superstorms, because oceans store enormous amounts of energy. And when the atmosphere becomes unstable, nature can release that energy with terrifying force.
The ocean has always commanded respect. Beautiful from a distance, unpredictable up close. For centuries, storms shaped the history of civilizations, trade routes, and exploration itself. But sometimes, nature creates something larger than human preparation. A storm so vast that even modern technology struggles against it. Somewhere far beyond the horizon tonight, new storms are already forming above dark waters. Silent, growing stronger, waiting for the perfect conditions to rise again.